지난번에 MSI 때 저희가 EDG한테 패배했었는데
한번 르블랑을 풀어주고 오로라를 써보자 해서
그래도 르블랑으로 먹자. 제가 르블랑 할게.
오케이, 미 모르가나.
제일 자신 있는 걸로 가자. 르블랑 뽑아.
그렇게 해서 이겼는데
Faker has never lost with LeBlanc.
EDG take down Faker.
A Korean team has fallen in a best of 5.
이번에 그 MSI에 서력을 할 수 있다는 부분에 가장 기대를 많이 하고 있습니다.
SKT 就经过 MSI 后变强了很多嘛，当然我们 EDG 也变强了很多。
일단 저는 EDG랑 가장 만나고 싶었었기 때문에 이번에 조 편성이 굉장히 잘 됐다고 생각하고
어느 팀이 더 잘할지도 겨뤄보고 싶고
박살을 내면 좋을 것 같긴 한데 그래도 이제 예선이기 때문에 어차피 같이 올라갈 거라고 생각하고요.
也许打完小组赛，就是我们就会知道大概是个什么情况。但我觉得最后还是我们会胜利。
First blood, 1v1. Olaf versus Aurelia.
Go Tigers, too far behind, can't do anything. What is up with the upsets?
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2015 League of Legends World Championship, beaming out around the world from Paris, France. You're getting a look outside, or inside, rather, the arena as of now with the fans hyping up, and outside earlier today as they streamed in, and of course, we're gearing up to support their favorite teams, getting in that team spirit. Our partners from Korea's OGN, of course, setting up, getting ready to tell the story as they will. And the big story today is EDG gearing up for the game against SK Telecom on stage not too long ago. And here's SK on the other side of things, prepping as well. Big game for them. H2K is going to follow that up with their game against the Bangkok Titans, still looking for their first win. Hello, everyone. I'm James Das Patterson, and lending their expertise to weigh in on today's action is Jake Spawn Tiberi, Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and, of course, Aiden Zyrene Moon. Gentlemen, this is a game full of this is a day full of games. I'm all over the place because I'm excited, but this is a day full of games that matter very much when it comes to group stage standings and who's going to move on to the bracket stages.
I mean, it's immensely important, and we have to start by talking about this first game, EDG versus SK Telecom. This is my finals for this tournament. These are the two teams, because of the way the brackets are going to shake out, I think are most likely to make it to fight for the Summoners Cup, and I am so excited to see this one.
Yeah, I certainly think Game 1 definitely has a lot of onus on it, but you also have to look towards Game 3, LGD versus KT. That is also going to be a very explosive game, just because of how LGD came out of the blocks and looked absolutely horrible.
Yeah, and conversely, KT played a very measured, very controlled style, and were pretty easily able to dispatch TSM.
Yeah, and you got to look at later on in the day as well, look at the game of Fnatic versus AHQ, rematch of MSI, and that could be for the 2-3 spot, could be for one of the top 2 spots inside of that group.
Well, yesterday, leading in today, brought some interesting developments about as we saw a few big upsets starting in Group D as Europe's 3rd seed Origin took down the LPL's #1 seeded LGD. Now, we thought Expeke was in for a tough game, but he came through in the clutch, turning the game with a massive Orianna ult.
And this play was out of control. As you can see it on the screen there. One thing I do want to point out is that Imp is standing on top of his Braum, which is where you never want to be as an AD carry, but Origin play this beautifully. So the key thing to look for is exactly where the Orianna ball is continually placed in this fight. It's always in a threatening zone, and then the damage explodes, as you can see it on the bottom of your screen. As soon as a Hemoplague Shockwave right there comes out, it's just going to completely destroy the entirety of the LGD lineup. And you'll see Imp's damage before that. He was double the damage of the Kalista, but Orianna just completely took over that fight.
Yeah, I feel like the TP trying to flank when you have a Kog'Maw is not the best idea in the world. And ulting with Vi onto the Kalista support, you should be going straight for the Kalista in that situation. I feel like there was definitely a lot of misplays there, but I do think that Xpeke's Orianna came up huge off of just the Wombo combo.
And just taking a look at historically these two solo laners, Soaz and Xpeke, they know how to use double TP, right? We can go back years on this one, all the way back to Season 3, and say this is a team that knows how to use these summoner spells to set up split pushes, to really actively engage pressure on the map. And I'm really happy that we're seeing it again.
And one thing I do want to point out is how smart it was of Origin to pick this big team fighting comp, because as soon as they let the Lulu through, they knew that LGD wanted to group. So pick things like the Orianna, like the Vladimir, get a lot of wombo combo going, because they will eventually come at you as 5 people.
Now, important to note that play like that averaged Xpeke 783 damage per minute there as a mid laner, which is an exceptional stat in this tournament alone, as well as for Orianna as a champion. Then, of course, in Group A, the LMS's Flash Wolves took down Korea's second-seeded KOO Tigers.
Yeah, and this is what I really wanted to see out of the Flash Wolves, because they're a team of 3 great players, in my opinion, in their jungler, mid laner, and support. And then they kind of have 2 players that are very hit or miss. So I expected them, if they were able to get it going with either NL or their top laner Stake, then they would have a strong showing at this Worlds.
Yeah, and they brought in NL for this set. And Stake actually did an interview afterwards where he was saying he became more consistent in scrims, and he just said, I'll stop feeding, and the 3 people will carry me on the team. But they brought NL in for communication because Kramer just doesn't speak the same language, and he's always a little bit out of position and a little bit late to get to places. So it ended up working out for them. Also, on the inverse side, KOO, they've been saying, hasn't been doing as well in scrims lately. 5-16 might have thrown them for a loop.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I think they looked quite good in their first game, but then again, it was not the strongest opponent. But Flash Wolves impressed me. Stake really, I thought, was going to be a weak point, but he's been solid so far in this tournament. Now, my concern about the Flash Wolves is, sure, they played this great poke composition. What happens if they don't have Varus and Nidalee and Gangplank? That's what I want to see more of that and see how deep their champion pools go and their team compositions go before I'm really sold on this team.
Absolutely. A couple good upsets, though, yesterday. Now, before we get into today's matchups, a quick look at how the teams are arranged in the standings. North America's CLG are in first place in Group A. The Flash Wolves and KOO Tigers are locked up in second, while Pain Gaming is still looking for their first win. Now, in Group B, Fnatic and Cloud9 are up 1 win apiece over Invictus Gaming and AHQ. In Group C, SKT and EDG are on top with 2 wins over H2K and international wildcard Bangkok Titans. And in Group D, Korea's KT Rolster and the EU LCS's Origin are each 1-0 over LGD and TSM. That could all change today, where we got a full day of games starting in Group C with a powerhouse matchup between China's Edward Gaming versus SK Telecom. Then H2K will go up against the Bangkok Titans, and after that, we'll switch over to Group D for the #1 seed LGD versus KT Rolster. So again, returning to these games today, gentlemen, looking ahead real quick, key matchups for you and how you see them playing out, or what you think might play into them the most.
I think the key matchup here is watching SKT try and shut down the Clear Love Mako jungle synergy, because they did it so well against KT, which is a team that plays similar to EDG in that regard. And I want to see if they can replicate it again against a team that I think plays it the best in the world.
Yeah, I think they are very similar in that way, but I agree. I mean, Clear Love, definitely a better jungler than Score, so that is going to be one of the key facets of the game. I'm just curious where the mind games go in Champ Select. We saw that video to start it off, how EDG baited out the LeBlanc pick. How much these teams want to show? I think they both really want to get out in first place in this group. That's my... Knowing SK Telecom, they never really stop trying.
I completely agree. EDG is a very proud team as well, and you saw Clear Love on your screen. He is one of the most proud League of Legends players ever. They will not hold anything back this game. This is the revenge match.
Yeah. Now, Zyrene, this is the second time we're going to see Group B. They had a day off, and considering the results of day one with C9 coming up over AHQ and Fnatic beating IG as handily as they did, what are you looking for out of these teams with that extra day of preparation to come into here for their second round of matches?
Yeah, that day off doesn't do a whole lot for you. You're watching some games. The meta really is still up in the air, and people are still learning 5.18, and we've seen some teams have that rocky road. The one I'm definitely looking at is IG, because they had the worst performance, I think, out of any team that was expected to have a good performance here. They dropped the ball heavily in champion select and then just their play around the map. They showed those huge inconsistencies from before, but it was just another level up.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out is exactly what you said. This is an existing issue with IG. Kakao is feast or famine. He either stays in the jungle, some say he's still farming in that game right now, or he comes out and ganks every lane and just snowballs the map. So I want to see what Kakao shows up.
All right, well, there you have it. We've seen each team play at least once, and we've already had our fair share of upsets. So the question for today is, who is your group stage dark horse and why? Starting with you, gentlemen.
I'm on the IG bandwagon still. I think a lot of people jumped off as now very spacious. I have a lot of my own stuff in there. But I think that Invictus Gaming, a lot of people will look at that and say that they just played it that badly that they won't make it out. They are a great team. And if that's not good enough for you, I think Flash Wolves are a really good team as well.
Yeah, I definitely echo the Flash Wolves there. But then I'll say C9. This is a team that I know that's absolutely insane, but considering that pool that they're in right now, it isn't looking as strong with IG showing some inconsistencies. It's only one game, though, and it's so hard to draw conclusions, and we're asking this question fairly early on in the tournament, but C9 is definitely the team for me if they pull out a win today against IG.
I had actually had some faith in Origin coming in, so it's going to be Origin for me. I think they really stepped up. They have veteran players that have been on this stage before. Niels looks unfazed as a rookie, so there could be some more upset potential there, and especially because, as we talked about yesterday, KT is a team that can drop a game against teams that are, I would say, worse than them. That is definitely a possibility. So in a best-of-1 scenario, I can see Origin making it out of that group.
All right, well, as always, you at home can tweet your answers to @LawlEsports with the hashtag Worlds so we can talk them over later today. And before we send it to the casters for Game 1, I want to get your predictions, gentlemen. Who's going to win the rematch of the 2015 MSI Finals, EDG versus SKT? Spawn?
I think that EDG right now are just playing phenomenally, and I think that the amazing J swap-up would have actually thrown SKT through a little bit of a loop. They've seen him play once, but they haven't seen that much of him, and I'm very excited to see if he gets something like an Olaf.
I think it's going to be SK Telecom. They're going to win here. They're going to win in the finals.
There you have it.
I think it's going to be EDG. I think Mako is just a big step up over Wolf. Even though Wolf did step up his season in the later half, I think that Mako and Clearlove just had that synergy down pat that they're going to be able to take over the game.
Well, Zyrene with the tiebreaker there, EDG on the desk. Now, as we step into the venue, we'll hear how Faker is one of the few players at Worlds that was eager to meet Edward Gaming in the group stage.
일단 저는 EDG랑 가장 만나고 싶었기 때문에 이번에 조 편성이 굉장히 잘 됐다고 생각하고 또한 나머지 두 팀이 상대적으로 다른 팀들에 비해서 약하다고 평가되기 때문에 좀 더 8강에 진출할 수 있는 확률이 좀 더 높아서 조 편성은 잘 된 것 같고